was a 4 versus 1 rondo, but instead of giving unlimited touch or just one touch, we made it mandatory 2 touch. This means that your first touch receiving the ball is very, very important, and you have to play quickly with your second touch. So 4v1, 2 touch mandatory. This is a 5-yard by 5-yard grid. Let's take a look at how it looked in training today. Notice the first touch. First touch isn't the same for everybody. Opens up into space, keeps it a little bit deceptive for the defending player in the middle. Notice that these passes aren't telegraphed. A little bit of creativity in here. Really good exercise to be comfortable on the ball using 2 touch in a 4v1 rondo in a 5v5 grid. Now we do a smaller grid where we do just 1 touch, but 1 touch is a little bit of a different skill set. Players should be exposed to 1 touch, 2 touch, unlimited touch, and you can make the grids according to the touch restrictions that you're playing. But for those of you that didn't think of playing 2 touch mandatory, Three versus 1 rondo. If we take a look here, the grid is split in half right here with the center line. These 2 players here can go anywhere in this side of the grid, but they cannot transfer to the other side of the grid. This 1 player has to stay in this side of the grid, and the defender can go to either grid, back and forth. So let's take a look. Again, small area possession, 3 versus 1 rondo. Really good warm-up activity for your team. Let's see how it plays out. Here we have the 2 players on the far side of that grid and the 1 player up top here. They're playing 1 touch only here. You can notice body position, and you can almost even anticipate what was going to happen based upon their body position and the way their hips are facing. Getting a nice rhythm there. The defender should wait until he sees an opportunity to shut down the angle, like right there. So that's our 3 versus 1 rondo. You can modify this in many ways. If your players are just starting off, you can definitely have them go 2 touch. 3 versus 1, one touch in each grid. Now there's only one ball, and we don't have a number of passes that we have to make before we could switch to the other grid. So it could be your first pass and that ball could break the line and switch to the other grid. You can put in some rules that say, hey, you have to complete 2-3 passes before you switch to the other side. In this exercise that I did, there was no restriction. You could switch anytime you want. The only thing is, it was one touch required. So let's take a look at how this went today. So you see they're free to go to either side on their first touch. I like this a lot in training, especially as one of the first exercises we do, because it doesn't require a ton of running. So this is something that's easily worked in for a warm-up. Some of the rondos where they require more running and a little bit more aggressive, then I would do a physical warm-up before we started to get straight into the rondo. But something like this is nice and simple, doesn't take much, and we can get right into it. So that's your one touch, 2 square, 3v1, or you can look at it as a 6v2 rondo. In this exercise, this is a 4v2, and you could see the shape of this exercise here. So it gets wider and then much thinner. We have to create 3 passes or more, 3 passes or minimum, before we can transfer this ball to the other side. When the ball is transferred, the player in the middle will simply turn around. The side players will shuffle down into this new side here, and it'll become a 4v2 on this side. After 3 passes, we can transfer the ball to the other side. So we did this one in training today. Again, all about small areas, finding solutions to keep the ball in small areas, increasing the soccer IQ. So you can see here some nice little rhythm in that passing. I have a 2-touch restriction on this at the moment. You can play 1 touch with 2 touch on the transfer. You you can see this middle player, really that body position, if the middle player is going to switch the ball, really has to get that body position side on if the middle player is going to switch the ball. Again, you know that everybody who watches my channel, you know how big I am in players trying to find solutions in small areas, because if you can't find solutions in small areas, the only other option is to get the ball out long. Just watch this play out for another second. And that's the exercise. So if you try that with your team, I think they'll really enjoy it. Again, finding solutions in small areas, 4v2, and a little different type of a shape with transition. Now in this exercise, you have 4v2, 2 yellows, plus say the blue is on the ball now, it's 4v2 against the 2 reds. 1 yellow shifts if the ball shifts, 3 passes, and you can change to the other grid. When the ball changes to the other grid, that player gets 2 touch, that initial yellow player. 1, 2, 3. Game model rondo. This is 7 versus 5. So you can see if the ball is here, these are the 2 center backs. We have the right back, left back, and we have 6, 8, and 10 here. Now it's up to you on the level of players, what you want to do with restrictions, touches, all that kind of stuff. You can make it 5 passes and transfer, 3 passes and transfer, whatever you want to do. When this ball is transferred over, all 5 pressing players come in and all 3 center mids transfer into this box. The reason I designed it like this is because that was the exact number of players I had at training that day. But it's a very, very good exercise. It fits our game model. If we play a 3-5-2, sometimes the 6 tucks in anyways when we're building out of the back to make it a back 4. So let's take a look at how this looked in practice today. Take a bigger look there. Fade myself out a little bit. So you can see the ball is switched. Center mids combining well right there. Now here's the thing. When we lose the ball, players from the outside and players from the inside can press. And that's something that is very, very important. As soon as we lose the ball, we press as a team. I usually allow players maybe on the outside to come in like 6, 7, 8 yards to press and win the ball. You should be able to see this pretty soon where we lose the ball. See, we lost it and we press. If you notice, that right back started to come in and help on that press. So this, again, this is game model rondo. Helps us get that nice rotation in the center midfield where the 6 and the 8 and the 10 are free to rotate. So after this, we were building this into a bigger activity in the training session. This was actually the second activity we did in the training session. But game model rondo, 7 versus 5 with transition, is a 3-team positional rondo where you have 6 players. So if we see here in blue, where we have 4 kind of like in between each line and 2 in the middle, which are positional, against 4 yellow. There's 2 yellow over here on this side, and then the red are set up the same way. 1 on top, 1 on the bottom, 2 out wide, and 2 positionally playing in the middle. What happens is after 3 passes, say the blue team could switch into the red team as 2 yellow will travel to make this always a 6v4. Now here's the catch. If the yellow win the ball, it is 4 versus 2, 1 touch only for the team of 4. So the team of 4 yellow, if they steal the ball, they get 4v2 against the 2 middle players in the square they're in. So let's take a look at how this plays out. So we just switched the ball. Gray lost the ball. So it's 1 touch here with the yellow, 4 yellow versus the 2 gray in the middle. Now gray are defending. As the ball is switched, 2 more gray will come in. This is 4 versus 2. As we switch that ball after 3 passes, if gray win it, it's 1 touch there. Now, you can adjust the touches if you want to give the team who wins the ball, if those 4 win the ball, you could give them unlimited touch, 4v2. Again, the 1 touch is a little difficult, so feel free to adjust the rules so you get a nice flow to this game. But this is a nice positional game. You could see this as game model with the center back, two wing backs, center mid, and maybe a striker up top. And again, really focus on the aspect of the 2 in possession in the middle, the 2 center mids. Make sure that they split the grid in half. They play positional. They're always looking to find those spaces behind and in between the defenders with the right body orientation. So right there is 3-team, 6 versus 4 positional rondo. Hope you enjoyed it. through Hexagon color-coded rondo. So this is a fast-thinking game. So here we have, say this yellow player is going to play to the red. This red player must call out the color of the person he is going to pass to before he plays this ball. And this is playing one touch. So the ball comes in, the red player has to identify if he's going to play it to red. Before he touches the ball, he's got to shout out red, play it in. As the ball's being played into the red player, say he's going to play here to blue, he has to shout out blue before he one touches the ball in there to blue. So let's take a look at how this looked in practice. They're actually shouting out the names of the colors that they're playing to, one touch before it goes to that player. Very difficult. It looks a little bit easier than it is. It's very, very difficult to do. This is the first day that these guys did this. Challenging, right? Always thinking ahead. You have to be scanning. Obviously you want to give good balls to feet. Not so easy to do it at all. So this, you could do this in any shape. If you want to do this with more players, one player on the inside, if you want to build it up so the kids are more successful in the beginning and then make it a little bit tougher. The idea is here, use any shape rondo that you want, any number of players on the outside, any number on the inside, figure it out for your environment, but it's a nice variation on rondo. You have the grid split into two sections. You have a red, a blue, and a yellow in each section. They must stay in their side of the grid. It's two touch. Whoever gives the ball away becomes the new defending team. Right now you see blue is defending. All about making good passing angles off the ball. Also, you do not have to complete any minimum passes in your own grid. You can go right to the other grid if there's a good pass. Today we're going to look at a positional activity where we have 4 versus 1 in a positional one-touch rondo. After 3 passes, it could be more than 3, but after a minimum of 3, the ball is played into here where we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 players. This red will turn around, that will be 5, as the 3 yellow come from different angles. This becomes a self-organizing exercise at that point, 5 against 3. And when I say self-organizing, it's because the players can go anywhere they want. It's up to them to self-organize to make sure that they have proper supporting angles, proper passing angles, good distance in between, all that stuff, because for me in soccer it is very important to have not just positional exercises, but exercises that are self-organizing as well, because it's a chaotic game. And in a chaotic game, you have to figure out how to self-organize when the formation isn't so clear and positions are all mixed up. So here we see, this is the self-organizing part. This is 5 against 3. This yellow from the rondo can't come in. Now you're going to look, the yellow team should come in now. This should be a 4v1 in here. Play starts immediately, 4v1 one touch. And actually took 2 touch, that's okay. And again, we have 5v3. And now this is free play. I'm always using variability in my training sessions, so just because this is one touch doesn't mean this has to be. This 5v3 turns into a free play. Again, using variability in training is really, really important. If all you ever did was play one touch and 2 touch, you would be missing out on some major skill sets. So it's important to keep that variability in training. Again, that's why I have these guys doing free play, and that's why they do one touch there. Hope you enjoyed that. That was positional play, 4v1, 2, self-organized play, 5v3. It's one touch to a free play. 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 against 3. So it is the 4 blue against the 3 defending red. However, you have on the outside 1, 2 yellows and 1 yellow in the middle, and you'll see how this transitions. So let's take a look. I believe in here I gave the yellow 2 touch, and then I told the other players 1 touch. So you could see they send 3 defenders in, 1 stays, so when they win the ball back, it transitions over here. As the 2 yellow in the middle move, they just slide over. as the end line players here in yellow stay outside. You can see the boys move this ball rather well. This is one touch. Obviously, like I said, I gave the yellow players, I allowed them two touch. Now this game, you could change this game any way you want. As soon as you allow everybody two touch, it becomes a lot easier. You could allow middle players free play. You could put one touch on the yellow players. However you want to progress this, depending on your group. But again, this is a really good exercise. All solutions in small areas. Can we find a way to keep the ball in small areas? If you win the ball, we look for transition. We look to go the other way. Hope you enjoyed it. Positional rondo. It's 5 plus 1. The plus 1 is in the red. So it's actually 6 versus 3. This is, again, a positional game. So you have 4 out here. You have 2 in the middle who are positional. And we have to work 8 passes. This is a 2-touch maximum. We have to work 8 passes, and if the team works 8 passes, they can score on this goal. If the ball is intercepted, it is played over here. These 3 yellow will come in here, and the red will transfer over, as this blue team will send 3. Let's take a look at how this works. Gray obviously in possession of the ball with red, and that's 8 passes. They can score on goal. So you'll see here, they take a chance to score, but it's blocked as they continue to work this ball. Again, in all these exercises, body position, the position on the field, the position of your body before you receive the ball, scanning over your shoulder, all these things are so important. Always trying to keep this ball moving quickly. Almost scored right there. Very, very nice exercise this is. Gets the guys pressing, gets them moving. All the things that we want in our game model. Even if you're a counterattack team, you can use these types of exercises. It doesn't mean you have to possess the ball forever, but to work out of tight spaces and get this ball so we can get it to the other side of the field, whatever we need to do. These are still really, really valuable soccer intelligence exercises where don't think you have to be Barcelona to run these exercises. These can run and fit almost any game model, to be fair. As we just watch a little bit more here. Hi everybody, this is a 5v5 plus 2 in the middle, and then you have another team of 5 on the outside. Whoever scores stays on, so there's a quick transition here. Now, this should be a bit of a positional game, especially when you play one touch, because it's very difficult in such a small area to keep this ball if you don't have your players with proper spacing. As we play one touch, it's really, really important. Two touch, it gets a little bit easier when you play two touch. So I'll show you clips of us playing one touch and two touch. This was an exercise that we did right after our initial warm-up. It's a very low workload. If you notice, this is one touch here. You can see the nice spacing on the guys in red. When this changes to two touch, you'll see that the shape changes just a little bit. I did not give the guys specific positions to be in. But they understand to keep this ball one touch, this really does have to have proper spacing if you're going to keep this ball. It's always two touch on the steal, by the way. When this goes to two touch, you're going to see it looks just a little bit different. Now we're at two touch. And I allow those yellow players in the middle to score as well. Obviously the red players on the outside cannot score. Always have to be scanning, always have to understand what space you're in and who's close to you in that space, because this is a very quick paced game. Obviously the workload is not as high in this game. This is more of, because of the space is so small, this is really more of an IQ game. But it fit in with the day that we were at in training and the workload. Two Rondo, you have two defenders in the middle. But here's the deal. We got these six players here are going to play one touch. After 6 passes, the team in possession, this red team, can score on either goal. If one of the defenders wins the ball, they will just exchange places with one of the red players. You could play this self-organizing. You could play this positional with the players. Depends on you how you want to do it. If the kids are having a hard time, give them 2 touch. You could put 10v2 in here, 1 touch, whatever you want to do progression wise. But let's take a look how this worked in training today. 4, 5, 6 passes right there so they could score. 3, 4, 5, 6 passes, they could score there. Notice all 1 touch. Players are self-organizing in this. I did not give them specific positions to fill, but I could have done that. I usually vary that. If you watch my videos, you see that I vary it from positional to self-organizing. So this is a little different because most times you see the defenders win the ball and they have to score on the goals. This is after X amount of passes, the team in possession can score. Hope you enjoyed it.
Today is a 6 versus 3 positional rondo that goes to goal. So we have 4 in the corners here. We have 2 that split this grid in half, so they're playing positionally. This is a nice positional setup. It's 2 touch. The red team needs to connect 4 passes minimum, then they can score on this goal. They can keep it for 8, 10 passes, whatever they want, but they need to finish on this goal. The blue team sends 3. If they win it, the ball gets switched into this side as red will send 3, and it'll be 6 against 3, and they'll get in a positional shape here, the blue team. Let's take a look at how it played out in training. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they're good to go to goal. That's 5, 6. Tried to score there, didn't make it. 1, 2, 3, 4 passes there. They can go anytime. And you see that's a nice job. That's a point. We usually play up to 5. First one to 5 is the winner. And if it's too much with the 3, you could always send 2 instead of 3 if it's just a little too difficult. Again, we'll just watch this play out. He'll try to finish right there, just missed it. So that was in training today. As always, if you want a clinic for your team or for your club or for coach's education, just drop me a line at coachdibernardo@gmail.com, and I'm taking reservations for winter and spring at this moment. Hope you enjoyed it. That's 6 versus 3, scoring on goal. That's a positional rondo. Take care. We have 7v7 plus 3. So we have 7 on the inside here, and this is 7 blue, with 3 yellow who play with the 7 red on the outside. We had that exact amount of numbers to work with in training today, so we set up the exercise to fit that many players that we had. And it's a very good positional exercise. The 3 players in the middle have to play positionally so they don't run through each other's passing angles. They can still use each other for combinations, but they're all responsible for finding their own space positionally inside these 7 players, working with the 7 from the outside. So let's take a look at this. Obviously, gray and yellow have the ball now. Red pick and choose their time to really press and win this ball. There's a good job there by red. As red go to the outside, gray come to the middle. As you can see, that's a nice job with the yellow players positionally using each other on the inside. Really good job by yellow right there. And we really always need to keep this ball moving. The faster we can move this ball, the better it is and the less organized that this defending team has a chance. These are crowded numbers. This is not an easy exercise by any means. It's all about body positioning, and not just body positioning with the 3 yellow on the inside who obviously need to be prepared. They need to scan. They have to have proper body orientation before receiving the ball. But it's also about body positioning of the players on the outside, so they're able to move the ball efficiently.
Over an 8v5 positional rondo, if you notice there's 2 center mids, and you could look at that as almost like a back 3. It is 8 against 3. When the 8 lose the ball, they can press together to win it back. When the 3 win the ball, they're going to go unlimited touch to either goal to try to score. And the team of 8 only has 2 touch in possession. So you can see we did something fancy for you today. We had split screen for a little bit, so you can look to see how that looks from an overhead version over there on the left and right on the field type of view on the right. Again, those 2 center mids are looking for those small pockets of spaces. You can vary the conditions here. You could give the 2 center mids in the middle maybe 1 touch, and players on the outside 2 touch. You could reverse that as well. I always give that blue defending team unlimited touch once they win the ball. You can see we had 2 of these exercises running at once today. The other one, we actually adjusted the numbers a little bit. We had to have 4 in the middle, and then we had an extra, we had 3 center mids in the other one. And we just do those things because we adjust them for the numbers that we have for the day if one group is a little bit bigger, so we don't have to have players sit out. And that's a good thing to do, is always be able to adjust your numbers and make the training work however you have to make it work. It is a 9 versus 3 rondo where it's 3 in the middle, and then we have 1 here as the floater. Obviously, he's looking to find space. He's looking for proper body orientation. He needs to scan over his shoulder to make sure he's in space. If we can get it to his back foot, great. Then he could switch the field. If not, he could just bounce it the direction he's playing. We have 1 touch on the outside, 1 touch in the middle, but we can switch this to 1 touch in the middle, 1 touch on the outside, or 2 touch, 1 touch. However you want to do this, all about finding solutions in small areas under high pressure. So take a look. If red wins the ball, red will leave a player in the middle. They will become the new plus player in the middle. So you'll see here, red won the ball. They will leave 1 player in the middle as we start a new ball. So you can see they left 1 player in the middle there. No matter what your game model is, these are like positional football exercises. Really, really important to be able to find solutions at fast rates under high pressure to work this ball out of a press. Nice and simple. The simpler you could do this, all about body positioning and scanning, because the simpler you can do this, the more effective you are at never stop this ball from moving. One of the key things here is always keep this ball moving. Now, today is a 9 versus 3 rondo where we have 1 touch. You can allow 2 touch for the player in the middle who really wants to find these spaces behind the 3 red defenders. So let's take a look at how this works. You see all this is 1 touch, moving that ball very, very quickly. If they can get it into the 1 player in the middle, great. That 1 player really should come out behind those blue players, get the proper body orientation to see if they can get a touch on the ball and switch that ball really quickly. If there's pressure on the 1 player in the middle, always play the way he's facing. Try not to get that, to lose that ball under pressure. Again, look, there he is. He's sitting behind the blue players right there. That's really, really good. Making use of that space, understanding where he is, scanning, proper body orientation. This is a nice low workload day. This is the day before a game for us. So nice 1 touch, 9 versus 3. After 3 minutes, we will rotate out of this. So after 3 minutes, the 3 blue will exchange with 3 of the grays. And notice there's no counter pressing. As soon as blue wins it, there's no counter pressing. We just start another ball with the gray team for the 1 touch. So all this is done with workload in mind, but always keeping the ball moving with that 1 touch. You could give, again, 2 touch for the player in the middle who can slide into those spaces and then use 2 touches, but 1 touch is really nice as well. 10 versus 2, 1 touch. It is not rondo. Players are free to move anywhere in their grid that they would like. They don't have to stand stationary. They do not have to make the shape of a circle. So as soon as blue wins the ball, the 2 blue run back to this side. 2 red will now come in and press here. Everything is 1 touch. If they take 2 touch, ball goes over here. And if it goes outside the grid, the ball goes into this square. Now, we have 3 minutes to play. After 3 minutes, 1 team does 30-yard runs out to the cone and back. They'll continue that for 1 minute as the other team does 5, 10, 15, and 20 shuttle runs. Not at full speed, especially when we first start. They go 50% and then we build it up until the end of exercise when these runs are actually being finished at full speed. So let's take a look at how that looks in training right now. So you can see this is all 1 touch. As soon as they give up the ball is played to the other side. 2 yellow come into the grid here. And again, every time possession is lost, it just goes right away. Blue sent 3, then they figured it out, and then 1 left, so there's 2. Let this run just a little bit more, and you'll see how we transition straight into the running exercise. As the yellow team moves the ball continuous, here we go, straight into, now this side is actually going to do shuttle runs. I know on the graphic it's reversed, but you see 5 and back, 10 and back. And there's actually a group over here that is doing 30 yards and back, and this group is doing straight 30 yards and back. And what we do is every rotation, so this is 1 minute, and then they play for 3 minutes, and then we'll actually switch sides. So this yellow team this is actually switch sides, yes, and you'll see. So the blue team now does the 30-yard runs, and the yellow team now does the 5, 10, 15 shuttles. That was how we opened up training yesterday. We're doing a 10 versus 2 partner, 1 touch, small area possession game here. After 8 passes, you could score either in this goal or this goal. If you give away the ball, you and your partner becomes the one chasing. So let's take a look. I believe blue's going to chase now. Everything's 1 touch. After 8 passes, they could score. They scored a little early there. Might have had it at 5 passes there. And then later changed it, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now they can score, and they score on that blue team. So you see how this works. Again, this is a self-organizing game. I don't give the guys positions. They can go anywhere they want, but it's such a tight area. This is around about a 10 by 10 space. They have to figure it out, correct body positioning before they receive the ball, make sure they get into a little bit of space, always scanning over their shoulder, and so forth. It's a really fun, competitive game. Partner 10 versus 2, just 3 rondo. And you can see here what it looks like. The 3 come in, they defend. If they win the ball, they sprint off. The next group of 3 sprints on. In training today, what we did was a little rotation. So after those 6 defend for 3 minutes, we swap them with 6 of the red, and then we go again. I had a physical station right after this, so we go from rondo to physical, small-sided to physical, and this is how we began practice today. Let's take a look at how this looks in practice. You can see the 10 there. These guys are playing 1 touch in blue right there. Come off, next set of 3 come on. It looks easy. It's not an easy game when you're playing 1 touch. If you think that there's not enough flow in the game, simply put it to 2 touch. It'll become much, much easier. But for these guys right here, they did a nice job with the 1 touch. The defenders, really need to work as a group. They can't just work as individuals, or else it's going to be very difficult for them to get the ball. You can see, have to have awareness, especially if you want to put your center mids in the middle there. Good idea, because they have to check their shoulders. They have to be aware of what's going on at all times. So that right there is our small-sided to open training yesterday. Hope you enjoyed it. I think your team will like it. Lots of progressions, lots of things you could add to this. But like I said, try 2 touch if 1 touch is a little bit difficult. Exercise here is a 10 versus 3 1-touch exercise where each team is actually going to score. So this yellow team here would score on 1 or the 2 goals here, where the gray team would score on the 2 goals, 1 and 2 that are facing their side. You could score after 8 passes, or after 15 passes, it's a goal. So let's look at the way this played out. We did a couple different variations on this today. Everything 1 touch. So you can see this yellow team, once they get to 8, they can score. Unless they want to keep it to 15 passes, then at 15 passes, they get a point. Notice to add some variability here. Notice the person serving in the ball, launching in the ball from his hands, making that first touch unpredictable. It's either going to come off the chest, off the thigh, whatever it is. But again, take a look at that. It's different than starting the ball every time from feet and making it predictable. So it's a nice little bit of variability in there. Again, after 8, we can score. They had 8 there. They should probably score right away, but instead took the extra touch. This is an excellent small area game where you're always going to have to keep in mind, it's self-organizing, but you have to keep in mind the positioning of all the players in this exercise. They have to position themselves so they're always creating angles and using making the space as big as possible. And as always, out solutions in small spaces. What this really is a 4 versus 2, and you could see it here, 4 versus 2 after 3 passes. And again, with all my exercises, you can use whatever progressions, variations, whatever you want to do, whatever rules and restrictions. I have after 3 passes, you transfer this ball into the red team, right? These 2 players are going to try to look to steal the ball. If they steal the ball, the blue team would just simply switch with this yellow team. So let's look and see how this plays out in a real training session. Here we go. And so in this is interesting. I didn't have enough players, right? I was down a player. So this red team is playing down a player. And I had to, on the fly, kind of make some changes to the session so it would work. And if you notice, in order to make it work, when red becomes a team in possession, it's only 3 against 1. So gray or blue can only send in 1 defender, and they play 3 against 1. And these are the things as coaches, you know, not every session you want to do. You plan these great sessions, and then you figure out you don't have enough players or somebody gets hurt. And on the fly, you got to adjust this and make it work so it still has a flow, it's still realistic, it's still beneficial. And for me right here, you could see what a good job these guys are doing. They're really keeping the ball. And there is a real benefit to this exercise, even though we're missing a player. So that was the exercise, finding solutions in small spaces. I love it because there's transition in it. You can make this all 1 touch. You can make the transition ball have to be 1 touch. Give them free play, but 1 touch on the transition. Whatever you want to do. But another great, I'll call it a soccer brain exercise. 5 versus 2, 5 versus 3, small area game that is really positional in nature. I want the team set up just like this, 1 in the middle, and we got 4 on the outside. And you see here all the different triangles we can make. Very important that this player's body orientation is correct and is always scanning at all times. So let's take a look at this. I believe this is going to start with 2 players. We gave them 2 touch. After 4 passes, they can transfer to the other grid, as the players in the middle can block that pass. Again, notice the shape here. You always have a player in the middle. Triangles all over the field as they press 2. Here I believe they're actually pressing 3. It's even more difficult. There they're pressing 2. Good through ball there. Pressing 2 again. Depending on the level of the team, you can adjust this, obviously. You can press 1 in the beginning to start, then work up to 2, and if the players are good enough, you could start to work up to 3 pressing players. We usually do this for about 3 minutes, and then we switch the team in the middle of the field. Very positional exercise. This can be adapted with more players in the center position, so now it becomes a little more sophisticated with 2 players in the middle here, and they can work off each other, and they would split this space in half and not run into each other's passing lanes. We'll just watch this play out a little bit more. They're still pressing 3. And again, I limited this to 2 touch. I find it's better to limit it to 2 touch in these positional games to start, because it really focuses on proper body orientation and always keeping that ball moving very, very quickly. These guys are doing a nice job in this. As always, rondo that focuses on getting the ball wide and switching the field. So what we have here is we have 3 here who keep the ball, and 1 defender from the middle will come in. After 3 passes, they can use a wide player who could switch the field. They could also split the defenders if it's on. And then as a variation, you can make it mandatory before you switch the field. You have to hit a wide player, get it bounce back, and then you could switch. So let's take a look at how this worked in training today. You can see the blue is defending. They send 1 into those greens. Now the field is switched nicely by using that wide player. We have this as a 2 touch limitation. You could do 1 touch, you could do 2 touch, you can eventually make this unlimited, whatever your objective is. So there's a nice try there, nice try to split right there. And you could have the defending team work for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or what I did here, I let the team who intercepts the ball switch with the team who gave it away. If wide players give it away, then we just start again. Again, you can see here, yellow gave away the ball, so now they have to pressure. And at some point, I did put in this rule where you have to hit one of the red players, get it bounced back before you can send it to the other side. So this is a nice variation of Rondo that has players working the ball wide, splitting if it's possible to split, because now it's very hard to defend against a wide player and the split in the middle. So really nice use of the wide players, and we're always looking for body positions. Can we receive the ball where we can even one time split the guys in the middle if it's on? Always looking at your hip position when you receive that ball. Looking to eventually, can you penetrate? Not just keep the ball in that little area, but can you penetrate? Here, possible split was on. This split is on, and it's a good try. So there you go. That is our Rondo for the day using wide players. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you're looking to book a clinic for the winter or the spring or the summer, just drop me an email at coachdibernardo@gmail.com. 4 outside who are taking up specific positions. We have 1 in the middle. We could have 2 in the middle. These are the center midfielders. So 90% of the time you're going to have your center mids in here. If you want to give a different experience, you could bring a winger in here. You could bring a center back in here, which would be really good. And then you have your outside players here. So you have 6 plus 1, and everything's a nice diamond. Everything's a nice triangle. This is positional as the blue team presses. Normally, if red loses the ball and they press, the players will come back to the same positions on the outside when they win the ball. However, if you wanted to, you could just give them the freedom to fill whatever position on the outside, but these 4 positions have to be filled. So that's one way to look at this positional rondo. Let's take a look at this in training. So you can see the 1 in the middle. This is 2 touch. Red is pursuing the ball. Middle player always scanning, always trying to find those little pockets of space, trying to simulate maybe in between the lines. Can he receive the ball on the half turn? Body orientation in these types of exercises are very important. This is the game within the game, right? Can you find the space? Can you sit in the space? Can you have the proper body orientation? And in doing so, that's going to make the game a simpler game, a more efficient game, and the defense is going to struggle because you're always kind of one step ahead of them if the body orientation is right and you play nice and simple. Hi everybody, in this video I'm going over a 7v3 positional rondo that we did today in training. We have 6 blue on the outside and 1 blue in the middle. We started off with 1 touch and then we moved to allow 2 touch for this middle floating player. It's very important to keep good body position, whether it's on the outside or the inside. This inside player needs to find pockets of space, make sure body position, body orientation is correct so they can move this ball very quickly. Doesn't have to run around like crazy everywhere in here. Needs to sit in those pockets of space to help move this ball. So let's take a look at what this looked like in training. So you can see the 3 guys holding the yellow in the middle of the 3 pressing. Right here is my man in the middle. He's got 2 touch. So we have 6 on the outside, man in the middle. Everybody's 1 touch on the outside. Player in the middle, right here, is 2 touch, if he needs it. Now there's a couple ways to play this. We started off by playing where the 3 yellows in the middle stay until they intercept 7 balls in a row. So it's one way to play, and then the next 3 will go in after those 7 balls and so forth. Then we progress to whoever gave the ball away, straight out switches with one of the yellows. So a little bit of different motivation. You have team motivation of all three working hard to get 7 turnovers. And then you have just, if you give away the ball, you know that you're going in for the person that intercepted the ball. So that's what it looks like, this 7-3-3 positional rondo. This fits in with all the positional games and works into our bigger game model. Today was actually day 1 of training for fall. Our season started today, and this is a nice introduction to, it's not as sophisticated as having multiple players in possession in the middle. This is starting from a little bit lower of a sophistication level, but a really, really good exercise. Is a 2 versus 2 plus 2. So here what we'll see is that the 2 blue players have possession of the ball. The yellow team is always on the team in possession, as the red team will press and try to win the ball. Now it is 1 touch, 2 touch on the steal. And again, this is just another small area of possession. You could call this a rondo, where players are figuring out solutions in small spaces, and in this exercise, it's 1-touch solutions. So let's watch this play out. You can see the guys move this ball very, very well using the 1-touch. Orange is pressing. Again, it is 2-touch on the steal. Notice the nice angles and the through balls that the guys are able to pick up and play in this exercise. We'll watch just a little bit more of this, but you get the idea. You can adjust the size. You can adjust the size of the grid. You could adjust the shape of the grid, but the reality is that it has to be pretty small to keep the pace really, really high. You don't want to get this grid too large so the guys have too much time and space on the ball. That is 2v2 plus 2. I hope you enjoyed that.